delivering biscuits and gravy. This is Sean, Biscuits and Gravy Man now. What's the response been since this story's come out?
I've had a lot of people say, hey man, you're famous, I saw you on the internet and crap like that. But and they have been ordering just because they've seen it. So we've been getting support from it.
Well, great. The tip's been okay?
Oh, yeah. Tips are always good.
This program is brought to you by FreeKeen.com. FreeKeen.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. FreeKeen.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. FreeKeen.com.
Hi there. This is Taryn Lupo, and welcome to Low Country Liberty Report. You might notice I'm wearing an accessory, and if you've been watching my stories, you'll know why. I'm going to wear these hats until 10 people sign up for Liberty Forum, which I think I've already got 5, so I need 5 more, and I can take these things off. The details are on the sidebar, one of these, that's probably that way. And also, I'm going to lead into this story talking about BiscuitGate, the family that got busted in the undercover biscuit sting in Savannah. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can catch up underneath the video response section. So ever since I ran that story, people want to know more about this family. So let me explain to you a little more about this kitchen and the background of this family. There's a couple who has a 10-year-old daughter, and they also have a brother that works with them. The whole family's involved at getting this food ready, and the mother kind of runs things because she has the most restaurant experience. It's her idea when she started it, and she kind of decides what's going to be on the menu. Now basically, they have worked, just like a lot of young couples. They started out broke, kind of in a real bad part of town, and just worked their way up little by little until they've been able to upsize into something nicer. So they've been to 3 different buildings. Now, I want to juxtapose their situation with Paula Deen, the very lovely and famous Paula Deen. If you're listening, Paula, please invite me to Thanksgiving. And I want to talk to you about how Paula, who was also from Savannah, a single mom raising 2 kids, was pretty broke when she started. And I remember seeing an interview with her on Donnie Deutsch where she said that she was actually proud that she didn't have a business license and she couldn't afford one. And she was running this out of her house. She ran a business called The Bag Lady. And in Savannah, what would happen is she would make sandwiches every morning, and her sons and her would run them out all over the city. And they'd go to doctors' offices, lawyers' offices. Believe it or not, the police bought a bunch of them. And what happened was people fell in love with these sandwiches, and she was able to earn enough to get a restaurant. Think about what would have happened back then if some busybody snitch sold her out to the police, or the police decided they had a chip on their shoulder and asked her for business permits, or whatever the reason, but the cops came down and busted her. She's a broke mom with 2 kids, couldn't afford the licensing, she would have been out of business. Now, think about that for a second. Paula Deen, the last time it was estimated, I saw a special on her on TV on E, where they estimated her value at, I think her empire is on track to hit $70 million this year. $70 million. Not to mention, she employs a bunch of people right here in Savannah and all over the Food Network. So she's created a massive empire and a ton of jobs and a lot of good things and a ton of good positive press for Savannah and a lot of tourist dollars for Savannah. What would have happened and what would you have missed out on had some busybody bureaucrat cracked down on her and put her out of business before she got going? Now, who knows? How do you know this family couldn't be the next Paula Deen? 10, 20 years of really hard work. It's possible. You just don't know. So these stupid regulations and business license hurt and cripple, and it's the unseen stuff, the unseen damage that causes that I'm more worried about than, the $200 or whatever the hell a permit is you're missing out on. So I'm going to take you to an interview with the male of the couple. He really didn't want his name to be known because they're still kind of scared about being targeted, so he's kind of in a disguise. But we're going to call him G, the letter G. All right, I'm here with G. I want to talk to you about the history of the Last Biscuit. The interview we did was a pretty big hit, and people want to know more. So give me an idea how it started.
Basically what we started with was a breakfast delivery service from midnight to noon, just Fridays and Saturdays. We started January 1st of 2009. we felt there was a need for more reason for people to not be out driving and not getting drunk driving and not giving their money to the man, basically, for drunk driving. So we basically started a service to feed people, to sober them up to get them to go somewhere, or to service the bars. We mainly started between River Street and Broughton from midnight to noon. I mean, we would do anyone, we would serve anyone, but that's where we started with. And that was the main reason why we started doing it.
It was a combination of, yeah, you wanted to make money, but you were filling a niche, and it was a safety issue. You were helping people not run around drunk on the streets by bringing them food.
Yep, because even with our prices and our prices today, you can see that we're not out to make $1 million. We do enough to where our daughter can stay home. She's homeschooled, and we can pay all our bills, and that's pretty much what we do it for, and then to help other people out. And that's how we started. We started in basically a little garage over on Bullock Street, and as the need grew and as we got bigger, we moved on to 511 or over on 37th Street, and now we are in the bigger place where we're at now.
And can you give me an idea, when you first started, how did you get the word out?
We did hand-to-hand flyers. We started on New Year's Eve with at the library. They'll let you print out a full sheet for 5 cents. What we did was we landscaped it and split it in thirds. So we had a third sheet, and we handed out. The first weekend we must have went through a good 1,000, 2,000 flyers between the two of us, and that was when we started, was New Year's, and it was a big hit. So then we decided to get the efficiency apartment and stick downtown instead of we started on Wilmington Island.
So you actually walked and went door to door and put out flyers?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
what was that like?
Well, when we first started downtown, it was as if anyone knows downtown Savannah, especially the historic, there's a lot of stairs and a lot of ramps and cobblestones. So it was kind of entertaining to see the girls in the high heels and the tourists that aren't used to that kind of stuff. That it was entertaining, especially to me, because I had just moved down here and just got started. We were just doing what we were doing, and then I went from doing that to going door to door, and I went from the river to Duran, MLK to East Broad. I've walked pretty much every square inch of that block radius, and that's how we got the word out to begin with. Now we've went as far as where we have a Twitter, a MySpace, and a Facebook. We're doing more of the social, and so that's saved a few miles on my legs over the last few months. Definitely Facebook for sure.
Yeah, I noticed it. That's a great way, and it's especially a good way to keep your food fresh in front of people. They see what your specials are every day without having to actually go to your website and look it up.
Mm-hmm. And we have our menu on there. We put specials.
Very smart.
And like you said, all our pictures are on there. They can actually see what they're going to get before they get it. So, and it's not one of those bolstered ads like McDonald's, how they put this big, nice, huge burger on there, and then you get this flat piece of cardboard. We take a picture of what we send you as it's done. So.
All right, G. So when you first started out, you guys were kind of in a rough neighborhood.
Yeah.
Did the
guys
police
walking around with machetes?
Did the police help you or hurt you when you started out?
Actually, they didn't do nothing to help us for sure. We had one guy that was from Wilmington Island. He's the classical white kid with the polo shirt, the short haircut. They'd pull him over to ask him if he knew where he was at, if he knew what neighborhood he was in. They're not going to protect you just because of the neighborhood you're in, or just because you're a white kid in a neighborhood that's mainly black. Basically trying to deflect, maybe doing their job on saying, hey, this white kid's in this neighborhood for some reason. They would go through the bags of food. It would take extra time. We'd have people calling and complaining about that. Because most people, especially when we first started, didn't realize it's home cooked. So it's going to take a little bit longer than, say, pizza or Chinese. And so that right there, we were working against that. Once they got the food and realized why it took so long. But then, what could we tell them when the cops are pulling our drivers over to ask them, do you know where you're at? When he'd been in and out of the neighborhood 4 times. We'd been there for a month. He knew where he was at, and he was fine with it. They weren't fine with it for some reason or another, which doesn't make no sense to me, I guess.
Again, it takes a lot of courage like this to run a business against the norm. And it's a real sad statement on society because, back 50 years ago, most people ran businesses out of their houses. You could go to a doctor and you would go to his lobby in his house, like a house call type of situation. You could go to restaurants and it was downstairs in the kitchen. This was a very normal part of Americana, which the government regulated out of existence.